Do you want to get better at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Well, today I'm going to go over a bunch of tips that I think are pretty useful in helping you get better at this game. If you get to the end, just practice everything I go over and you should get better pretty quickly. Let's get into it. First, I want to give a basic control breakdown. At your Y, left or right on single Joy-Con, accelerate. Unless you have auto accelerate, you must hold one of these down to move. B or down is brake. X or up is rear view. Don't worry about this too much. L/ZL/SL is use item. And R/ZR/SR is hop, which is used for both tricking and drifting, but I'll go over both later. You steer with the left joystick and plus or minus pause the game. The arrows and the right joystick are just other ways to steer, but just use the left stick. I typically play with the Pro Controller, but use whatever you prefer. Pausing the game lets you see the basic controls. Once you understand that, look in the game menu. At the bottom, there's a kind of hidden info screen. I would recommend flipping through here to help you understand more driving techniques and also understand the items. If it's a bit confusing at first, play a bit and then look back at it. This is overshadowed because advanced players know all this, but this is actually pretty useful to beginner players. If you want a bit of help with movement, on the pause screen or when choosing a kart, you can turn on and off smart steering, auto accelerate, tilt controls, and on the pause menu in the map, but just leave that on. Tilt controls let you control by tilting your controller, and I'd say just turn it off. Auto accelerate makes it so you don't have to hold the accelerate button, and smart steering helps you with turning and prevents you from going in the off-road or falling off cliffs. The drawback is you can't get purple sparks from drifting, which I'll cover later in the video. I'd keep smart steering and auto accelerate off, but when learning, it's fine to have these on. Also, sometimes they default to on and sometimes to off, so just check in the kart selection screen before starting. Now let's get into Karts and Characters. You can really just pick your favorite, but different Karts and Characters do control differently. There are 6 broad weight classes: feather, light, medium, medium heavy, heavy, and very heavy. The lighter characters have better acceleration, traction, and handling, and the heavier characters have more speed and weight. Speed is how fast you can go. Acceleration is how fast you can reach top speed. Weight affects drifting and when you collide with other racers. Handling is how well you turn, and traction, or grip, is how well you drive in off-road. These are important, but the 2 major ones are speed and acceleration, and you can't really get both. I would recommend for new players going for more acceleration. In the Kart Select menu, you can press plus or minus and see your stats. Now that you know the basics about how the game works, let's get into the actual game. When picking a cup or a track, the first time you're probably going to want an easier one. The Mushroom Cup is by far the easiest, but in my opinion, the Flower Cup, the Shell Cup, and if you have the Booster Course Pass, Golden Dash Cup, are probably the best cups to start out with outside of the Mushroom Cup, since they have easier tracks. I would definitely recommend playing through a few tracks and trying to implement what I'm going over in this video to help you do better. Items are pretty important. In the info section, you can see what they all do and make sure to go over this. Learn when to use items. For example, you don't want to immediately use a mushroom. Practice when the right time is. Also, items like shells and bananas can be held behind you by holding L, which is the item button, and can be held there for defense. Also, items you can throw can be thrown in front of you if you hold up on the joystick when pressing or releasing L, and behind you if you hold down. You can press X or up to look behind you, which is helpful for seeing items. I will go over a few simple things that will help. First, when going off a ramp, press R to trick. This gives you a bit more speed. You can also shake to trick, which is useful in large wavy sections. Play a few time trials. You don't need to do all of them. I only did the base game, no DLC on 150cc, but I think you should do a couple. Don't play with single Joy-Cons if you can avoid it. They are not that comfortable. It may not seem like that bad, but it's way better without them. Anyways, you unlock new carts by getting coins. It takes 30 coins per cart. When your wheels hover, you are in anti-gravity. This lets you spin into people and these blue things take you in. Once you are familiar with the main game, you need to learn how to drift. You can play without drifting, but you should be drifting. The R button lets you hop, but holding this and a direction lets you drift. You will keep turning until you release or lose the drift. Different vehicles drift differently. Karts, which have this icon, and bikes with this icon do an outside drift. ATVs, this icon, do a middle drift. And some bikes, this icon, there's a difference, do an inside drift. Simply explained, when you turn, an outside drift takes the turn wider, like this. The middle drift takes the turn around the middle, and the inside drift makes a tight turn. Start with the outside drift. It's a lot easier. When on tracks, you can also drift wider when holding the joystick away, neutral when not holding the direction, or tighter when holding the direction you are turning. Drifting tight charges mini turbos faster, but it also means you do have to take the turn tight. Here is why drifting is important. If you drift long enough, you can charge a blue mini turbo, which gives you a little bit of speed. If you drift a little longer, you can get an orange super mini turbo, or even a purple ultra mini turbo. For this, smart steering must be turned off. There's also a hidden mini turbo stat that makes the charge time faster. It aligns pretty closely with acceleration, so while it's not exact, more acceleration equals more mini turbo. I hope that all made sense. With practice, you will get it. So that's my beginner's guide to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. One thing I have to say is practice makes perfect. So the more you practice, the better you will get. If you got this far, then be sure to like and maybe even subscribe. Anyways, that's all. Now go have fun beating your friends.